Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever wonder how, that supplement or medicine you take is guaranteed to be safe and effective every single time?
It's a huge question, right? And it comes down to this bedrock framework that governs manufacturing.
Exactly. We're talking about good manufacturing practice, or GMP. It's the baseline rule book.
That's right. GMP, it's this set of internationally recognized guidelines, really fundamental for ensuring quality control, consistent production. Think pharmaceuticals, food, cosmetics, it covers a lot.
Its main job is pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Uh.
Stop contamination, cut down on errors, make sure product A today is identical to product A tomorrow.
Precisely. But today, we want to dig a bit deeper. We're not just talking GMP.
No, we're focusing on cGMP, current good manufacturing practice.
And that little C, well, it makes a world of difference.
It really does. The C stands for current. It means companies can't just rest on old standards. They have to keep up.
Keep up with what, exactly? Technology, science, both. The regulations basically assume technology and science are always advancing. So if there's a newer, better way to ensure quality, maybe an automated system that reduces human error, the expectation is you adopt it. Sticking with outdated methods, even if they met old GMP rules, that's not going to cut it for cGMP.
Okay, so our mission today is to really unpack what that dynamic seas forces companies to do.
Yeah.
We'll look at the core pillars of quality, the 5 Ps, I think they're called.
Yep, the 5P.
And then we'll dive into the absolute non-negotiables around documentation. Because as everyone in this field knows...
If it wasn't documented, it didn't happen. Simple as that.
All right, let's start with that foundation, GMP. Its goal is preventing mix-ups, errors, contamination, basically anything that could compromise the product, right?
Exactly. Safety, identity, purity, strength, efficacy, all hinge on solid GMP. And to make it manageable, the industry often talks about the 5 Ps. It's a good way to remember the core areas.
Okay, let's tick them off. What's the first P?
First up is people. Probably the trickiest variable.
The human element. Always unpredictable.
Right. So GMP demands really robust training, ongoing training, actually. Competency checks. Strict hygiene protocols are crucial. Think hand washing, reporting illnesses, anything to minimize human error or contamination risk.
Makes sense. What's next?
Premises, the physical facilities. And this isn't just about having a roof and walls.
Oh, what else does it cover?
It covers the design of the building for safe production flow, sure, but also things like sanitation, pest control, even the grounds outside.
The grounds, like mowing the lawn.
Sort of, yeah. Keeping grounds maintained helps control pests. Inside, you need proper lighting, drainage, making sure sewage lines are completely separate from production areas. It's about controlling the environment, totally.
Okay, controlling the environment. Got it. That leads us nicely into the third P.
Which is processes. These are your standardized workflows, and the key word here is validated.
Validated meaning?
Meaning you have proven, with data, that the process consistently does what it's supposed to do. Think about equipment cleaning between different product runs.
To prevent cross-contamination?
Exactly. You need validated proof that cleaning removes all traces of product A before you start making product B. If the process isn't reliable, the product won't be either.
Okay, people, premises, processes. What's P number 4?
Products. This covers both the raw materials, the ingredients coming in.
Components, I think, is the term.
Right, components, and the final finished product. Both need clear specifications, and you have to verify they meet those specs at each stage. If your starting material is off, the end product likely will be too.
And the final P?
Procedures. These are the written instructions, your standard operating procedures, or SOPs.
The rule book for every single task.
Pretty much. And the critical thing here is adherence and accountability. If someone deviates from an SOP for any reason, it must be documented immediately, reported, investigated, no exceptions.
And these principles, these 5 Ps, they apply broadly across different regulations like those CFR codes you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, you see the core principles and rules for drugs like 21 CFR 210 and 211, but also for things like biologics, medical devices, and dietary supplements under 21 CFR 111.
Now, you mentioned 21 CFR 111 for supplements. Is there a major practical difference for a company operating under 111 versus, say, the drug rules in 211? What feels different on the ground?
That's a good question. While the fundamental quality principles, the 5 Ps, are the same, 21 CFR 111 has some specific requirements tailored to supplements. Often this involves slightly different testing requirements, particularly for ingredients, and rules around labeling unique to supplements. But the core expectation for process control, documentation, and preventing adulteration, it's just as rigorous. It's not a lighter version, just specific.
Okay, so the 5 Ps give us a solid GMP foundation,
Yeah.
but you said that's not always enough anymore. That brings us back to the T in cGMP. What does being current actually require a company to do?
Right. The C pushes companies beyond just following the established rules. It demands a shift towards proactive quality assurance. It's about integrating modern technology and approaches.
So using newer tools.
Exactly. Think real-time monitoring, using sensors, automated systems to reduce manual steps where errors can creep in. It's about using technology to get tighter control and spot potential issues before they become big problems.
I can already hear some businesses thinking, modern technology sounds expensive. Is cGMP essentially forcing maybe smaller players into huge upgrades?
It can definitely be a financial challenge, no doubt, but you have to weigh that against the cost of not complying. Recalls, lawsuits, shutdowns, those costs are astronomical.
That's a good point.
cGMP pushes for modernization because, frankly, newer systems often do lead to better control, less waste, and ultimately safer products. Think about catching a deviation instantly with an automated monitor versus finding it maybe days later in a paper record. The savings from preventing a bad batch can be huge.
That makes sense. This reliance on tech must mean a big shift away from paper records, too.
Oh, absolutely. Paper is prone to errors, loss, difficult to search. cGMP heavily favors electronic batch records, or EBRs.
EBRs.
They massively improve traceability. Everything is logged electronically, timestamped, secure. Audits become much easier. And these systems have their own set of rules, often called 21 CFR Part 11 in the US, covering electronic records and signatures.
You also mentioned equipment needing to be qualified. I saw IQ, OQ, PQ mentioned. Sounds technical. Can you break that down simply?
Yeah, it can sound like alphabet soup, but it's logical. Think about installing a new high-tech oven for baking bread commercially.
Okay, like a bakery.
Right. IQ, installation qualification, is basically checking. Is it plugged in, right?
Yeah.
Did the vendor install it according to the manual? Are all the parts there? Just the basics of installation.
Got it.
Then OQ, operational qualification, is testing the oven's functions. Does the temperature control work correctly? If you set it to 350, does it actually reach and hold 350? Does the timer work? You test its operational ranges.
Makes sense. Testing the features.
Yeah. And finally, PQ, performance qualification, is the real proof. Can this oven, running our specific recipe and process, consistently bake perfect loaves of bread that meet all our quality standards? You run it under normal conditions, multiple times, to prove consistent performance.
IQ, OQ, PQ. Install, operate, perform. That oven analogy makes it crystal clear. Thanks. And this all ties into a bigger concept, quality by design, or QBD.
Exactly. QBD is a philosophy strongly encouraged, almost expected under cGMP, instead of just testing quality at the end of the process.
Like inspecting the finished bread.
Right. QBD says you need to understand how your ingredients and process steps affect the final product quality and then build controls into the process to ensure quality from the start. You define what your ideal product looks like, that's the quality target product profile, or QTPP, and monitor the critical factors, the critical quality attributes, or CQAs, throughout manufacturing. It's much more proactive.
Whether it's basic GMP or cutting-edge cGMP, none of it works if you can't trust the paperwork or the electronic data, right? Good documentation practice, GDOCP, seems absolutely central.
It is the pillar. If your data's integrity is questionable, everything built on it collapses. Every single action that impacts product quality has to be documented reliably, traceably. Data integrity is everything.
And there's an acronym for ensuring this integrity, ALCOA plus MED.
Yep, LCOA plus DEP.
Yeah.
It's a framework regulators use constantly. Let's break it down.
Okay. First letter, A.
Attributable. Who did what and when? Every entry, every action needs to be traceable to a specific person and time. No ambiguity.
Prevents finger pointing later, I imagine. Next.
L is for legible. Can you actually read it? It needs to be clear, permanent if it's on paper, usually indelible ink, no pencil.
Okay. Legible makes sense.
Right.
Then C, this sounds like a big one.
Contemporaneous. This trips companies up sometimes. It means you record the action as it happens.
Not at the end of the shift. Or the next morning.
Absolutely not. Recording hours later introduces doubt. Did you remember correctly? Did you write down what you expected to see or what actually happened? It undermines the record's reliability.
Okay, contemporaneous, record it now. Leads to O.
Original. Is this the first place the data was recorded? Or is it copied from somewhere else, like a scrap of paper? You need the original record or a certified true copy. And for electronic data, especially dynamic data like trends.
Dynamic data.
Yeah, like data you can manipulate in the software, zoom in on a graph, filter results. The original record includes that dynamic capability, not just a static printout like a PDF.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Original. And the final A.
Accurate. The data must correctly reflect the action or observation. No errors, no falsification. Calculations need to be checked. Systems need to be validated to ensure they produce accurate results.
ALCOA. Attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, accurate.
And there's a plus.
Right. The plus adds a few more related concepts. The data also needs to be complete, nothing missing. Consistent, entries are in expected sequence, dated correctly, enduring, it'll last for the required retention period, and available, easily accessible for review or audit.
That's comprehensive. Now, thinking about the real world, especially paper records.
Yeah.
How do you handle mistakes? You can't just scribble it out, right? Definitely not. For corrections on paper, there's a specific method. You draw a single line through the error so it's still readable.
Ah, so you can see the original mistake.
Exactly. Then you write the correction nearby, initial it, date it, and if it's a critical change, you often need to write down the reason for the correction. No whiteout, no scribbling. Traceability is key.
Okay, single line, initial, date, reason, if needed. What about electronic systems? Security must be paramount.
Hugely important. Shared logins. Absolutely forbidden. Every user needs a unique ID and password.
Why is that so critical?
Accountability goes back to attributable. If everyone uses operator 1, how do you know who really made that critical change? Systems need controls to ensure only authorized people can perform certain actions. Segregation of duties is vital. The person managing the system shouldn't be using admin rights for routine work.
And the system has to track what people do.
Yes, through audit trails. If the system has them, they must be turned on, and they can't be alterable by users.
What do they record?
Typically, who did what when they did it, what the old value was, what the new value is, and sometimes the reason for the change. It allows auditors, or investigators, to reconstruct the sequence of events perfectly. If the audit trail isn't reliable or enabled, the data integrity is immediately suspect.
Wow, that level of detail is intense.
Yeah.
It clearly requires dedicated people internally just managing quality. Let's talk about those rules, maybe using the dietary supplement rules, 21 CFR 111 as an example. Who's on the front line?
The key player inside the facility is often the Quality Control Unit, or QC. Think of the QC analyst. Their job is hands-on, testing raw materials, checking products during manufacturing, testing the finished goods.
What are they testing for?
Things like identity, is this ingredient actually what we think it is? Purity, are there contaminants? Strength or concentration?
Yeah.
Composition. They follow very specific, validated test methods laid out in SOPs. It's a demanding job, very procedure-driven.
And this QC unit, they have real authority, don't they? They're not just suggesting things.
Oh, they have immense authority. Under the regulations, QC must review and approve or reject all raw materials, packaging components, labels, everything. They approve specifications, production procedures, cleaning methods.
So they can halt production.
Absolutely. They have the final say on whether any reprocessing can happen. And crucially, the QC unit is solely responsible for the final decision. Approve the batch for release or reject it. Management cannot override a QC rejection based on quality concerns.
That's significant power. When it comes to ingredients, especially for supplements, what's the absolute minimum testing required? You can't just trust the supplier's label, right?
No, you definitely can't just trust the label or the supplier's certificate of analysis blindly, although that COA is part of the picture. The regulation, 21 CFR 111, specifically states that for a dietary ingredient, the manufacturer must conduct at least one appropriate identity test before using it.
One test to confirm it is what it claims to be.
Yes. Unless they've gone through a formal process to petition the FDA for an exemption based on proving supplier reliability through other means. But the default is you test for identity. And all testing methods, whether it's sophisticated chemical analysis or even a simpler visual or smell test organoleptic analysis, have to be scientifically valid for their intended purpose.
Okay, so rigorous internal controls. But what happens if a company doesn't follow these cGMP rules? What's the enforcement side look like, say, from the FDA?
Well, first, if a product isn't made according to cGMP, the law considers it adulterated. That's a serious legal status.
Adulterated.
When the FDA inspects a facility and finds deviations from cGMP, they list these observations on a document called Form 483. It's basically the inspection findings report given to the company at the end of the visit.
So the 483 is like a warning shot. Here's what we found wrong.
Kind of, yeah. The company is expected to respond with a corrective action plan. If the issues are serious, or if the company doesn't fix the problems noted on the 483,
Then what?
then the FDA can escalate. They might issue a formal warning letter, which is public and signals significant regulatory concerns.
That sounds bad for business.
It is, and in really severe or persistent cases, the FDA can take further action, seizing the adulterated products, seeking injunctions, and potentially pushing for a consent decree.
A consent decree, what does that entail?
That's usually a legal agreement filed in court. It's basically catastrophic for the company. It typically forces them to start producing or distributing the product, often requires them to hire external experts to oversee corrections, and they can't resume normal operations until the FDA is fully satisfied that all the cGMP violations are fixed. It can cost millions and take years to resolve. Hashtag #OutProdro. So when we boil it all down, cGMP isn't just about ticking boxes on a static checklist. It's a commitment, really, a mandatory one, to using current methods, current technology, and especially rigorous data integrity practices.
All aimed at ensuring the products we rely on are safe and effective.
Exactly. It's about public health and consumer trust, ultimately.
And we see this drive for quality globally, right? With organizations trying to harmonize standards.
Yeah, you have groups like ICH, the WHO, working on international guidelines, and third-party certification bodies like BSI play a role too, certifying companies to related quality standards like ISO 9001, which share some common principles with GMP. It reflects the global nature of supply chains today.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. cGMP and data integrity don't just live inside the manufacturer's walls. Think about that complex global supply chain.
Right. So here's the question. If a manufacturer relies heavily on a supplier's testing, maybe just reviewing a summary report or a certificate of analysis provided by that supplier, how much real assurance do they have, especially if they haven't audited the supplier's original electronic data, the audit trails, the metadata, really digging into the LCOA plus principles at the source?
How deep does that verification need to go down the supply chain rabbit hole before a company can truly stand behind their product's quality and safety with absolute confidence? Something to ponder.
Definitely something to think about.
And on that note, that's where we'll leave this deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.